Why don't we skip introductions and just go ahead and go live?
And we are live.
All right, okay, thank you everyone. We're pulling in a virtually connecting session here, so that's what you hear coming from this computer. That's what we had pre-planned for this. So welcome to the session. My name is Matt Crosslin, and we are here to talk in a virtually connecting session here, so that's what you hear That's what we had pre-planned for this. So welcome to the session. My name is Matt Crosslin, and we are here to talk in a virtually connecting session here. One of the session is that I will talk for a few minutes, just give you the basic overview. I will draw some questions to the table to discuss, and then we will come back together at the end. Now, not through a piece of paper. And another reminder I was supposed to throw out is that as we discuss anything that's innovative here, if you could tweet out how we're discussing innovation or how the word is being used. There are people that are looking to kind of research that topic, and they would be interested to hear your insights in that for this session and any other session. Okay. So what I'm mainly talking about here is what we originally called the dual layer model, which is an attempt to mix the XMOOC with the CMOOC, for those of you that are familiar with those terms. Or, in other words, an instructivist MOOC with a connectivist MOOC. The layer model kind of implied a hierarchy, so it's using the terms customizable modality. And basically the idea behind this is that you design two modalities into your course. For us, it was a MOOC. It could be a normal, traditional course as well. One modality is an instructor-guided instructivist modality, and the other one is a connectivist or student-centered modality. The idea is that each of these modalities is equally valid. So as you know, in learning, all of our learners are unique. Not all of them like to be guided by the instructors. Not all of them like to guide their own learning. And what they like will change on any given day or any given hour, depending on any one of number of factors. And so what happens is, normally in education, we as the instructors come in and design one pathway for all of our students to follow. Maybe there's some variation, maybe there's some choice or something like that that's happening. But the goal of this dual layer design was to make it so that each participant could choose which modality they want at any given time. And they could move fluidly between each. And really the best way to describe it is with this diagram. The way that it works out is the learners come into a place which sometimes called the neutral zone. They look at the options that are before them. They can follow the pathway that the instructor has laid out for them. The content, the videos, the discussions, the quizzes, etc. Or they could choose to connect with others and form their own groups. Maybe they are working in a different context than what the instructor designed for them. They want to take the content and put it into a different context. Maybe they know some of this and they want to kind of go beyond or go in a different direction. So this is the choice that learners were given in our design. But the real secret to this is that learners can choose at any time. They can change at any time. That's represented by these arrows going back and forth. The learner can decide, you know what, I don't know if I know this content as well as I need to. Let me go see what the instructor has to say about it. Or on the flip side, learners can say, I think I have this, but I would rather connect with some people that are maybe in my field, say if it's nursing or history or whatnot, and see if we can apply this content to that context. And so what it really looks like, that last diagram was kind of a really organized way. What it really looks like is something like this, is that learners following the instructor can go through different options and pathways that the instructor does. Or learners that are wanting to form their own pathway can go through all kinds of different pathways or different options, some even outside the normal range of the course. And so we found when I started researching and talking to the students who are doing this, that a lot of times learners are kind of forming this this pathway that connected both of them. Say they follow the instructor for a little bit, through some of the options the instructor gave, and then they decide, well, I kind of want to connect with others and kind of go in a different direction, so they come over here and start connecting with others and start forming their own pathway. And then they find something outside of the official pathway and say, this looks pretty good, let's pull this back in, and start talking about that. And then on to the completion. And even beyond that, we found that we had some learners that didn't even follow a linear pathway. They would actually just pick and choose different parts at different times and kind of not even form a pathway as much as a map of the different parts that they put together. And so this design was initially taught in a course called the Data Analytics and Learning MOOC, the DAO MOOC. Most recently, we offered it this structure in the Human MOOC, Humanizing Online Instruction, Human MOOC. Two of my co-instructors from that class are here. We need Patrice, you have to wait and say hi. I think Maha is joining virtually. Is she in the connecting session?
Is Maha with us?
She's not with us, no.
Alfred? Maha Alfred? No, she's
No.
not with us.
So we had 4 instructors. The goal of the course was to teach about how to humanize your online course. We used customizable modality design. These are some of the designs. And what we did is we thought, well, trying to explain to people what instructivism and connectivism is a little bit beyond what a lot of people really want to dive into for every class. So we decided to come up with a metaphor for the 2 choices, the 2 modality choices that we could choose. The garden was chosen to represent connectivism. And you think of a garden like you would like a botanical garden where you explore where you want to go and kind of get off the beaten path and maybe find other people to enjoy the view of nature with. And then also there was a stream metaphor for the instructivist modality, which kind of represented the more linear nature of following the pathway that someone has carved out for you. And so this is some of the technology that we use. We have buddy press and assignment banks for people in the stream. We have Twitter and blog, social media for people to connect with outside of the LMS. We used Canvas for the LMS to provide the content. I think the content was developed by Whitney in a previous version of the course, and so she had all this excellent content in there that people could always go in and read at any time. And then started asking the And so part of my research, I did this for a dissertation, which I just finished. Shameless self-promotion.
Virtual people are saying woot.
Oh, yeah. So went through and did some online interviews with participants. A lot of participants are in the virtual connecting session. They'll be sharing some of their experiences after we do the small group discussion. But went through all their interview responses, asked them about their experience with the dual layer, came up with 2 overall themes. Participants desired an overall learning experience that was tailored to personal learning preferences. And what this means is that those who wanted the more structured instructivist layer were happy to have that. Those that wanted the less structured connectivist layer were happy to have that. The main problem with that one, though, was sometimes getting people to recognize that their preferred way of doing the class wasn't the one that everyone else needed to follow. And so there's, you see some people that are more connectivist leaning were like, well, why do we have to have this content? Why can't we just have everyone on Twitter? And those who are more the instructivist leaning, like, why do we have to have this Twitter? Just tell me what the test is going to be on the test. And so, the biggest challenge there is getting people to recognize that it's all good. The whole point of this is that every option is valid here as long as you all get to complete the course. And then the second one, technical and design limitations can create barriers in the learning experience. And I know that's like mind-blowing. Like, wow, next thing I will tell you is that the sky is blue. Obviously, that's something that we all know. That was just one of the themes that arose from that studying that with the students. And so we definitely have to look into what those specific technical and design limitations were, and that's what some of the discussion is going to focus on, is some of the technical and design limitations. So I've intentionally kept this kind of short and brief because I don't want to put too many ideas in your head. Some of you already have a lot of ideas of this already because you were in the course. But I want to discuss some of the parts of the course and see what ideas and what issues and what problems and what good parts and bad parts you would see with this design. And that's what you're going to do at your small groups that I think are mostly going to form around tables. If you only have like 2 or 3 people at your table, if you want to go to another table, that's fine. But I'm going to throw up, sorry. Sorry, my plane just got in like 25 minutes ago. So I'm going to put up 4 different questions here. I'm going to let you choose which ones you want to discuss at your table. So the questions here, I kind of threw out an idea of the neutral zone there. So what would be the importance of a neutral zone in a dual layer model like this? How could an instructor convert an existing course to a dual layer model? Is scaffolding really that important? Can learners just find their own ways, their own way to the modality they want? And how would you grade assignments that come from such different modalities? That was one of the bigger ones that we looked at. So how would you grade if a student goes to this instructivist and follows what you did and does the assignment you did? How do you grade that alongside someone that went the connectivist route, with their own assignment and still says that they met the counter? So those are the things we're still struggling with. Maybe you'll have an answer that we need. So let's go ahead and break into groups around your tables, or like I said, if some of you just to your table want to join up with that table, pick the question you want to discuss, and we'll come back in about 10, 15 minutes or so. Okay? All right.
Do you want to do that question? Hey,
We're in your group.
15 minutes or so. Okay?
Can you hear us?
and do you want to do that question? We have quite the echo, though.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? I can. Can I have everybody else mute themselves if they're not talking? Helen, can you mute? Quite the echo, though. I can. Can I have everybody else mute themselves if they're not talking? Everybody's muted, but I still have a horrible echo. I wonder if that's just because of the audio.
We're working out technical difficulties, folks. This is what happens when we're in a session, right?
This is what happens when we innovate. Yes.
So you tweet that out. Come on. How did she use that? What did she mean?
I'm gonna tweet that out.
This is what happens when we innovate.
So you tweet that out. Come on. How did she use that? What did she mean?
I'm gonna tweet that out.
It's got horrible lag on it. Should I leave and come back? I'm going to try to leave and come back.
Come on. How did she use that? What did she mean? Does anyone possibly have the live feed still going on their computer or something like that? Because it sounds like the echo is the live feed. So I know we were all checking it out for sound, and it's possible that someone has that and might be, or maybe they had it. So let's hope they get back to us.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I totally figured out the problem. So I had the live stream going in the background.
That's what I thought happened.
This is much better now. This is much better.
Much better. So we are part of your group as you're discussing for this session, is that right?
Yes, that's the idea. Yep, you are. So the question that I wanted to take on was how do you grade assignments that come from such different modalities? Just because I don't have the answer to that question, but I find it really intriguing, especially from the point of view of the garden. I think the stream is more instructor-led, and so that becomes, you've got outcomes, you've got an instructor, you've got certain assessments, you grade those assessments, and yeah, but the garden, where somebody just kind of like decides that they're going to start up a new initiative, like they're going to start up a new hashtag, or they're going to do something, they're going to write a blog post that's all, nobody gave them a prompt for that blog post, they just found something interesting. How do you reward them? Do you have to reward them, or is that, this actually came up in Human MOOC where it was like, is it just the self-reward, is that good enough? And is it not so much the reward, but those connections you make and those people that you meet, is that your reward then?
So I think for me, I think that this is the opportunity where you engage the students in the expectations and the rubrics up front. So for some folks, they may like to do maybe a vlog as opposed to a blog or a Twitter stream or something like that. And I think you engage them with what they expect some kind of assignment to, like how much work it would be and what they expect to do and produce at the end of whatever it is they're taking on. I know that doesn't afford the same level of spontaneity sometimes, but I think it'd be a good way to engage a lot of people, because they're coming, I mean, especially in the garden model, right? They're coming with all of these skills, all of these backgrounds that we don't even have. They may run a YouTube channel at their house and have all the equipment to do green screen videos and be able to produce these things that we just don't have access to, maybe, whether it's tools or knowledge or whatever the case is. So I think it's about engaging folks in the rubric and assessment process early on, so that expectations for those kinds of things can be established in order to give some kind of assessment differentiation between those different things. So
it's
Is that a kind of
point.
Go ahead.
No, it's a good point, because it's similar to what I've done with students around digital storytelling, and have them create or co-create their own rubric based on the story that they're telling. So I'm necessarily evaluating what they want me to evaluate, or assessing what they think is important in their stories.
Great idea.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's a great idea, right? So instead of us assessing you if you're in the garden, tell us, person in the garden, how you want us. Do you even want me to assess you? But if you want me to assess you, you tell me how, and I'll give you that outside view. Because, I mean, this just happened to me the other day where Whitney looked at me and she's like, I have to tell you something about yourself here, right? There's something I've been noticing that you do that's really cool, and I want to tell you about it. And I was so thankful, because it was just like, you know, it's so hard to see it when you're inside of it. And so if you want that evaluation, if you want that outside view of yourself, giving somebody some structure that allows them to fit it in the way that you would expect it.
And Helen, that's for a traditional 4-credit class that you do that?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's for grades and marks. So inevitably, I'm the one actually attaching the mark or the grade, but they're providing all of the structure, and every rubric matches the story. So it's easier for me to mark them, because it's exactly, they fit. Whereas if I do the rubric, it doesn't necessarily fit to the assignment. Like Keegan says, if it's a blog or a Twitter, it's two totally different methods of communicating. So yeah, tell me how you need it marked.
And do you, Helen, I'm curious about that, because I'm thinking, tell me how you need this marked. I mean, I'm curious about actually the framing of the question. Is it like, what did you learn? Or, you know, because I'm like, wow, I don't know if I could imagine, and curious where students might get stuck. And do they? Or do they just come to it and emerge it? Because I love that idea, but do you give them any frame at all?
They get stuck a lot, and they get, sorry, they get stuck a lot, and they work collaboratively with other people who are in the stuck-it stage. And over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, it evolves. So as they're writing the story, they're creating the rubric, and they're creating the reflection all at the same time. So it's kind of an ongoing process, and then I'm kind of weaving in and out of it. This is a face-to-face class. It's not an online structure, so it's gardenish, I guess, in its nature. But it's definitely a lot of struggle going through it.
Hi there. I'm Dipali, and I would like to add, when we were talking about assessments, I've been teaching online for quite some time, and I have I try to grade. I teach at the community college here at Folsom Lake in California, and from my experience, I have learned that, and I'm still learning, that students with different needs, they have different thinking and learning styles. So just like you folks, I have rubrics, but I have synchronous and asynchronous assessments for my students. Different discussion forums, they turn in a different way that they are able to, because they have different learning styles, just as we have different teaching styles. So, but I love the storytelling idea that you mentioned, and the rubrics, and I'm still looking forward some more new ideas there.
Thanks, Dipali. Dipali, do you use the same rubric with all the students, or do you have different ones for the different styles of
That
learning?
is such a great question, because I'm involved a little bit with online education initiative here in California. I'm also one of the course reviewer, and I learned I've been teaching online since late 90s. So year after year, I have learned that I started including rubrics only a few years back. I have same rubrics for all of them, but my rubrics, I try to include that students who have different needs, they get opportunity to succeed in the class with extra credit or descriptive questions they can submit. Some students are good in multiple choice question. I have different case studies that students can talk in each and every discussion forums, so they grade and access themselves. So different kind of modalities here, but rubrics are pretty same, but I give them, my students, enough opportunity to succeed in the class.
Yeah, I think that's important, the student choice. I know that's kind of a theme rolling out here, is how much they get a chance to have a say in their own marks. Has anyone used, and what Keegan was talking about was sort of contract grading as well as Helen's. I mean, is that what we're talking about here, is contract grading?
That's a great question. Yeah, it does have that feeling to it, doesn't it?
I've suggested it to faculty to use, and I always get like the same look, like, let's talk about something else.
And I think you're right that it would be problematic in a formal environment in a lot of cases, but in this case where you're running a dual layer MOOC, like that would be a great offering, right? That would be great to say, like, we can offer you these badges and this kind of stuff if you go the instructor route, but if you want to take the garden path as a MOOC participant, and if you're looking for self-reflective kind of feedback, because you want to get to know yourself better, because you want to know what kind of impact you're having, tell us how you want us to give you that feedback. Do you want to create a rubric for yourself? Do you want a narrative feedback? Do you want to have a conversation with me? What kind of feedback would you like? And can we make that happen? I'm not saying you could make it happen for everybody, because a MOOC is scale, right? The massive part of that would make that kind of difficult. But that would be an interesting approach as an offering to people who are going to take the garden path. Oh, looks like we're pulling back together.
Oh.
All the answers, I'm sure I don't have all the answers by now. Yes.
Got the answer.
We have to solve education at this conference. All right, so, like I said earlier, this is a microphone that you can throw it around. I'm not going to, okay. So make sure. So
Sundi wants a microphone. Do not hit my laptop with the microphone.
So we will. Oh, this was even louder. Oh, cool. So no. So I'm going to pass it to your table. You want to start over here or over here? Who wants to volunteer first? I'll just go around. Okay. Start over here. If you could tell about the question you have.
Actually, no, I would love you to share what you shared with us. Please. Because I think that's is it okay if I put you on the
And then we will and then you throw it to the next table.
Yes.
I say everything about how I was downing. Are you guys live?
We are.
Okay, if you want to be live on the internet, so just ask.
Is it okay with you? You're all right with that?
All right.
Well, I guess I come from a different perspective. I came to this conference because I really wanted to learn about blended learning and personalized learning for high school students. I founded a high school in Hartford, Connecticut. And since I've been here this whole day, no one here talks about children. They don't talk about students. They never once have mentioned anything about students. It's always about curriculum and how do we get, kids to do whatever, and no one understands like what kids are about. And I produce kids who come from poverty, who need to go to college because they need to break the cycle within their families. They want to go to college. They work as hard as they can. They go to college, and then they're back within a month because college professors don't understand where they come from. They won't change what they do at the higher level. They won't do any type of personalized learning with them. They won't get to know who they are. And since I've been here, that's all people have talked about is, I want to say the word slackers, but I've heard that more than once today about kids who just don't work hard. And I'm so tired of hearing about kids don't work hard, and the kids, just from my thing, work unbelievably hard in 4 years. They come into the school at a second or third grade reading level, and they work unbelievably hard to get into college. And then they get to college, they definitely have deficits, but they're not treated as if they should be in college. And that becomes a big problem for what we're doing. So I thought this conference would help alleviate that, but it's not. It's actually getting me more upset as I go around to each one. Actually, I left one conference to come to this conference. I left another one because I couldn't be in there any longer. I had to come here. And I don't know, it's just for me, it's higher education should be an opportunity for all students, not just the selected few. The ones who fit the mold of what higher education is supposed to be about, especially having to do with your zip code or the color of your skin. And that's what it seems to be about. And that's what people are talking about. And it's hard. Yeah. I don't know if you really wanted to hear this.
No, it's good to hear. And I spent several years as an 8th grade science teacher at an inner city school. And a lot of this came from that, is saying if I would just allow these students to start picking their own pathway with some kind of safety blanket of here's what the here's the instructor layer, but they start picking their own pathway. I started trying to do that. Some of my students in 8th grade, they loved it, but the administration didn't like it as much. And so the struggle with this is figuring out how do we empower students to choose their own pathway and get the administration happy about it.
Well, what I don't understand is our kids have scored 1,300 in the SATs. They'll take AP courses. They'll take multiple AP courses, but yet they don't make it. And how is that? How is that possible that they can't make it? Knowing that they go in and they can actually do the work, they're smart kids, but they're not given a chance to make it because of the structured environment that college professors use. The lecture format is killing them. And I don't know about other kids, but our kids don't learn the lecture format. We never lecture kids. We all do personalized learning. We do the blended learning. We do the flipped videos. We do from day one. This is what they do. They're all given laptops and they take them home. All assignments are done online. They don't sit. Our teachers don't lecture. They find out the level the kids are at and they move them from that level. Structure and scaffold information so kids can learn. And it's hard.
Yeah.
So someone else is better.
You have to throw the microphone.
You have to throw it.
Throw it?
Yeah.
Do you mind being live on the internet, Michael?
No. Sorry, what's your name? What's your name over you spoke previously? Bob. Well, thank you, Bob. I'm always pleased when we discuss students. I resonate with your concerns as somebody who teaches and is administrator at a school where about 2/3 of our students are first-generation college-going students, about half are Hispanic. And they do have a lot of struggles, not just in school, but in life, their lives around them, their family life, and their economic challenges that they have. So all that's happening, and I'm sure, I know that my university doesn't do as much as it could do or as I would like it to do, but I know a lot of us who care about that. But I'm just bringing it back to this particular presentation. There's nothing about lecture, and it's about trying to find the right choices for individual students that resonate with them. So, I mean, that's a lot of what I hear at the OLC conferences. Not all of them. I mean, there is definitely stuff that's, say, pedagogy devoid of students. So, you know, I like to think you're in the right place. It's only the first day, so hopefully you'll hear more about students. And this, to me, seems very learner-focused, which is why it's interesting to me. So that's just my thoughts.
By the way, I had to go through like a 190-page dissertation in like 5 minutes there at the beginning, so I'd be glad to share that with you.
So I would just like to ask a question pertaining to the presentation itself, and that is, what I experienced watching Human MOOC was that giving students choices created camps necessarily for the choices themselves, and it got me to really question: does XMOOC and CMOOC can they coexist?
Well, I mean, one's the devil and one's awesome.
But other than that.
No, I think in one sense, if you're going to have hundreds of thousands of students in a class, you're going to have some way to bring it down to camps, or not camps, but smaller groups that are more meaningful to people. But I think you're talking kind of about the cliquish feeling or nature of some of those camps.
It felt like choice gave people a reason to declare a way in which they felt like they learned,
right.
And stand by that.
Right. Yeah.
And just the fact that the choice existed gave people an opportunity to do that. And I'm interested in does that distract from from what you're trying to do itself?
Yeah, definitely the design, having to talk about the design, is no distraction from any, and it resulted. And so the future work in this, I'm shifting more towards a method that still has design underlying it. The students see more of the future left on the table about this. Instead of necessarily seeing that there's two choices, they're seeing options that they have in the course and they build their own map. And they more see this map more than these camps and these choices. And then the technology behind that map can help people connect in groups, and that can change the next week, or they help people find the content that they need and change the next week. But the idea is that I'm kind of moving towards is to lessen the talk about instructor presence and student presence all here on the bottom, but I know there's a definitely design presence in these courses, so I want to decrease the amount of design presence. At the same time, I want to see the learners learn how to learn, and so that's the whole process of this is teaching them how to be learners. So I have to figure out a way to decrease the design presence, but increase the learning how to learn, the pedagogical concept of it. And I'm not sure how to do that yet.
Yeah, I like where you're going, and I'll say one more comment and pass it along, because I feel like when we say that there's two ways to go, it feels kind of red pill and blue pill, you know. And the more that we sit, yeah. And the more that we can say that pathways are, the goal is that the pathway is up to the learner. It's not a right way or a wrong way, but it's that you do have a choice. And the more that can happen, I'm super excited to see where it can, how you get there. So.
No, I definitely agree, and I think some of the most tweets I did is doing a new course trying to convince people that no, we're not going to force everyone to do Twitter. No, we're not going to force everyone to take the tests or whatever. So I agree with that. Focus is on the learner, create their own pathway, and that's what we're trying to get. So.
Who would like to?
Heads up.
They're all tweeting over here. So.
I guess I'll take it, and I'll head back over to my table here. So we actually grabbed your last question there and started talking about that. How do you grade an assignment with multiple modalities? And I think in your case, Matt, you probably found it, and tell me if I'm incorrect, it seemed like you probably found the stream easier to assess than the garden. So that's really kind of, the question is, how do you assess the garden? Or how do you grade assignments from the garden if somebody created their own assignment? And so we had a conversation about that, and Helen and Keegan both had some great insights about how they did some stuff in their own courses about allowing students to create their own assessments. And could you say, if you're going to go down that path, if you're going to go down the garden path, and you want assessment, right? You want feedback of some kind.
Right.
Design that assessment then, because that's a very gardening kind of thing to do. And if you do that, then we can give you that kind of assessment back. Did I do an okay job at that, you guys?
Do you want to let Helen?
Yeah, why don't I let Helen? Can I let Helen talk? I don't know if it'll pick up, but let's try.
Let's try.
Yeah.
Is it picking up? And it's about giving students some say in, okay, we have to give them a mark, but giving them some options in what that mark will look like, and structuring their rubric. They co-create the rubric with me for the assignment that they are completing. So there's a lot of choice in their own voice within the mark that needs to be provided.
Okay.
That's good. Well, just let me say, I wrote this question a long time ago. If you follow me on Twitter or my blog, you know I complain constantly about the concept of grading and how it's more of an illusion than anything else. That we're just kind of like, one person gets an 80 because they had a great idea, but they were horrible on the technical side. Another person gets an 80 because they're wonderful on the technical side, but horrible on the idea side. It's just all an illusion, really. So the idea of grades, that's a whole other thing to unpack that we can't get into, but I actually found the people coming in from the garden to be a bit easier to grade myself, probably because of what, Helen, you're talking about, because they were coming to me saying, this is what I would do, and this is why, and here's why. I was like, okay, great, you've earned your badge, Convincing maybe school administration or parents or other people that this is a good way to grade, it's probably a much harder road to go, because so many people want to compare one person to another, even though we know from years of research that that's almost impossible. But we still have to go there because we have to know if Johnny is better than Bob or whoever, not you, Bob, but we have to compare one kid to another. So we have 5 minutes left. Does anyone wants to speak?
Hi, I'm Bruce. I sidetracked this group because I was being really cranky, and I was being cranky about the fact that most of the students I encounter don't have the motivation necessary to really take advantage of the CMOOC concept. And then as I listened to the conversation around the room, I came to the conclusion that what I really am looking for is a way to turn somebody into that individual, that self-motivated individual. Whether you call it a ramp, whether you call it, I don't know, module zero, many terms apply, but that's the real challenge that I personally face. I like this, but I just don't know how to turn more students into that self-directed, self-motivated kind of thinker.
No, I agree. That's where I ran into too. Learners have been told their whole learning career exactly what to do, exactly what tests to do, exactly how many pages to do, exactly what grade to get, and then all of a sudden we turn them loose without any training on how to do that. That's a larger systemic problem, but that's one we're trying to also deal with. Anyone else want to get the microphone thrown at them? We have 4 minutes left. Rants, being cranky is good, being snarky is good. I love it all. You will see me on Twitter being constantly snarky, so I have no room to complain. Okay, well then I guess we will call the session. Oh, is there anything else I need to do? Okay.
You might do a shout out for the next time you and your friends to have more people involved and
yes,
share
and
their experiences. The experiment lives on. So the next time around it'll be Maha Alfred's dissertation. So,
when's the next one happening for humility?
I have no idea. Coming soon to a theater near you. Watch Twitter. No, it's been a wonderful experiment in sharing ways to humanize online instruction using the community link praise and model for that. I've certainly learned a ton over the last 3 years doing this, and it's been great sources of data for my kind friends that are dissertating. Yes. So next time up, it'll be yet another dissertation. And everything that everybody shares is so valuable, and it's such a wonderful opportunity for that information to get out in the field and to keep the conversation going. So please feel free to join again.
It's a good point. Actually, anyone on the virtual connecting want to throw anything on the microphone? Experiences, complaints, rights?
Do you guys want to contribute? You guys have anything to say?
Jump in. We have 2 minutes, Matt.
2 minutes.
This is about the human MOOC experience?
Yes.
Or anything.
Or anything.
Or anything, Donald Trump.
Any of the questions you have up here? Yeah, give us your insights.
Well, we've been having a little back channel of about grading in general, and something that I kept thinking about when Helen was talking is that, and what you said about the story with you and Whitney telling you something about yourself, or was it Patricia? We constantly want feedback in our lives, right? So even after school, we give each other feedback, and it would be nice for grades to be closer to that than grades, because we want that, we need that, and that's very helpful for growing and continuing to learn.
More real.
I like that.
But thanks.
That's become part of the neutral zone idea that morphs to more on my blog. Anything else for anyone in the virtual session?
Anyone else?
2 minutes. Nope, that's good. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone, for joining in virtually. My blog is edugeekjournal.com. If I get to the next. Oh, there's another question. Well, oh well. I'm trying to get back to my Twitter handle so you can tweet me if you have any questions or want anything. There we go. Email and Twitter. Should put that on the last slide. Slide, please. Failure, sorry. So please tweet me or email me if you have any questions or want to discuss this further. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that was the session. What did you guys think?
Actually, I have to run.
Okay.
It was great to see all of you. We'll see you later.
Bye. Bye, Patricia.
And I have to, just a little side note on everything else, I have to apologize to Sundi. I called her Sundi earlier, and that is not her name. So I'm sorry about that. After I said it, I was like, oh! So.
I was going to reprimand you, but I didn't want to take the time.
I didn't want to do it live on the internet.
But see, now
I have to say, I think virtually connecting has gone to a whole different level.
Yeah, this was a different kind of session. And when we first came in, we weren't really sure how it was going to roll. This has definitely been different, and the one we did inside our session was different too, where we weren't live for that one, but we did more, you know, kind of. So it was definitely a little bit different.
How was the session itself there, Autumn? Was there a lot of conversation happening, or were you kind of focused on us so you didn't get to participate in what was happening there, did you feel?
I felt like I was at a table with you guys, right? I mean, you guys were my table, and Patrice was my table, and we had actually had it set up so that we'd have more people at our table, but I think when I had the technical difficulty, and that was totally my fault, I didn't realize that the live stream was playing in another window. We went to the back of the room thinking that maybe it was the audio system inside the session that was by AK that was giving us trouble, and yeah, that was the problem.
That was me, yeah.
Were you doing something behind me?
I was just waving behind it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that, and so I took us to the back of the room. But there's 1, 2, 3 other tables that were having small group conversation as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other modality where we get to insert ourselves into a session like this. I mean, do you see? I mean, this is next level. You know, I'm fascinated because we absolutely got to contribute, and the gentleman on the table, well, wherever directional that is, who was talking about the student perspective. You know, he was, you know, he seems fairly new and was just like, wow, and we got to, you know, basically carve the conversation in a different way and contribute to it. So, and talk about stream, the eddies of it. Is fascinating to me. I'm still kind of like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, I have to commend you, Matt, because I think you've just created the dual-layered conference presentation.
Right. We're all about hybridity around here, folks.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I was hoping for more.
Yeah,
It's cool.
that's great. I think our session this morning and then this one.
Rebecca's here too.
Hi.
We're still live.
Our session this morning and this one have just been quite transformative from that experience. This morning, it was transformative for the people that were at the table, because for the first time they were interacting with virtual people as part of a breakout session at the conference, and it was very integrated. And I think I can see AK's there. Can talk more to that as one of the virtuals that were there.
Yeah, AK, tell us a little bit about how that was for you.
I was hoping that nobody would knock on my door during the session. As I said during the session, I posted a little sign saying, at a conference, please do not disturb. But, of course, that usually means that I'm not in the office. So when people hear a voice, they want to say, oh, he's here, let me just knock. It's like, no, I'm live, I'm doing something.
Right.
But it was really interesting to see other people at the table and be able to discuss. I really liked being able to see people, but it was a little awkward because sometimes I recognize Autumn's voice, and it's fine to have a disembodied voice of Autumn because I'm so used to that. But when there's other people at the table that I'm conversing with, but I'm not seeing them and I don't know who they are beforehand, I really wish I had like one of those like little things that I could turn and just sort of face them.
Okay. Maybe there is a point for the robots, where you could have a little more
The little head thingy,
right?
Yeah.
And then you could turn yourself. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Try next time. Although, sort of jumping streams here, one of the questions that came to mind is, you know, questioning the question. So, is there really a need to grade something in an open course? I think that if somebody's taking an open course and they're not doing it for credit, there's a sort of self-assessment aspect. So why am I doing this? What do I hope to gain out of it? And how do I know if I've reached that path or that end goal?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So your question, AK, is do we even have to do that?
Right. So if you're not there, so looking at our side conversation about grading and feedback, or not those two things the same, or should they be the same? I'm sort of thinking at it as, let's say, a martial artist. So in martial arts, you've got belts, which are sort of like grades. But even if you have a black belt, even if you're a 10th degree black belt, you can always improve, and somebody can always give you feedback. So the belt is basically, I think it was Bruce Lee that said, the belt is only good to keep your pants up. So what is a grade good for? You know, just to sort of take it off in your transcript that you've done this and move on to something else, but the feedback is what's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think we do need that more authentic kind of feedback.
Can I add to the conversation here?
Yes.
Yes, so that was a very good point that he mentioned about, and I believe that self-reflection of students are very important, whether any kind of modality it is, and at least one assignment where students can self-reflect, either it's blogging or just writing note or anything that they are comfortable, on ground, hybrid or online classes, but self-reflection is what makes them strong. And just as you mentioned about the karate, and I know both of my children did karate and black belts and everything, and year after year, then you say, oh, are we doing just for the belts? No, we are learning every single class because there's something new that we create. So either in the discussion forums or any kind of assignments that we give, they should be able to reflect, I believe, according to their learning abilities.
Yeah, this is making me think about a blog post that I just wrote recently where I talked about know thyself. We have a couple of people that just joined us. Say hi, guys.
Hi, I'm Whitney Kilgore.
Michelle Harrison from British Columbia. Some more on-site people wanted to drop in and say hi.
Hi, you guys. I'm so glad we were able to do this during the session. That worked out very cool.
It'll be interesting to see what people who watched it, who weren't in the session and weren't in the virtual session but were watching, like Jeffrey, what their perspective is from this new thing.
Yeah, we should have gotten started earlier, I guess, and done introductions. We did miss that, but it was really kind of an experiment to do it this way. We'd never done anything like this where we were inside a session where we'd actually go live.
So we're innovating it innovates.
We are.
Oh, no,
We
she
are.
just did it again. She
No.
did it again.
There's a new hashtag.
We are virtually connecting. We are innovating at innovating. Yay.
Are you sure you're innovating, and are you sure you want to innovate? That's the question. What do you mean by innovate?
What do we mean by innovate? Yeah.
Oh, here come the AV guys. I think we're about to be kicked out. It was good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us in your session.
Going, but great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sunny.
And folks, do you have any last thoughts before we head out? That was a pretty intense kind of session. We got to participate in much different kind of ways than usual, so I don't know how anyone
Are we
else
still
feels.
live?
We're still live, yeah.
Okay.
Any last thoughts about that experience?
I mean, I think that one of the things, it seemed definitely like a success, and I think it was because we were so included and integrated into the whole process. I mean, that to me is part of why I mean, at least I felt like this was very positive and phenomenal, because we not only got to break off into our own little group and discuss the questions that were going on during the session, but then got to come back and contribute. And yeah, I think that is what made it awesome.
I also think that this is... Oh, go ahead, Helen.
Just to add to that, I recognized we were credible, we were validated, we were treated like human beings, even though we weren't there.
Yeah.
And for me, it's an example of how this type of thing could be done on the cheap, because it's somebody's laptop at the front of the room using Google Hangouts that brings us in, and you don't need really expensive cameramen and streaming software to get this going on the web, which always seems to be a sticky point. Oh yeah, we'd like to webcast this conference, but it will cost too much money. And I think the point here is that you can do this for additional costs.
Yeah. And I think that part of that too is I kind of like the feel of the homegrown a lot more anyways, because when it's big and official and expensive, it's just not as, I don't know, it's not as homey, it's not as fun.
Yeah, I just participated an hour earlier because I'm a virtual registrant as well.
Yeah.
And so I participated in, I forget what it's called now, but creative, synchronous, and asynchronous design. And she had an Adobe Connect session up, plus what OLC purchased for me as a virtual registrant. And luckily I had two screens because they were inviting me to chat in one, and then there was the Adobe Connect in the other. Now the Adobe Connect was more robust, and she had everybody in the room on Adobe Connect in the chat box as she was talking, plus the virtuals. But I certainly struggled to get myself in there and feel like I was a part of it compared to this. And I think it's not just that we have our faces being seen. It was the volume of people in the chat. So I think there's also a ratio question that I have about the success of this too, and comparing that experience to this experience so far. That it's manageable in our situation with the amount of people, and also the homegrown Keegan. I gotta say, I feel so relaxed. Yeah. Matt was really relaxed. I mean, there's just sort of this connection to all of you, and I'm actually in cubicle land, was what I call right now. Like, you know, we've got the help desk running right here, and I was certainly going to mute it if I got interrupted, but my colleagues know I'm doing this, so I'm kind of in this other interesting space that's working just fine for my space as well. So
yeah, it's almost. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and it's definitely ratio of people, but it's also like the on-site buddies are really, for this session, they were really important. They were the ones holding our hands and moving the camera and those kind of things that were very more human than, you know, whatever a robot would make, or what, you know, what this is the most important thing, so we'll keep the camera on this the whole time. Instead, you know, we got to move like our head was moving with Autumn looking around, so, you know, that was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Keegan, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say very similar, that the limitations of Hangouts may be part of its success in that way. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Sometimes limits are really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, nice. More human, brought to you by Automavision. I had to say it. Okay.
There's a tweet.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I will copy this chat. I don't know if we want to keep it or not, but I think that's something that we've been talking about doing for each thing.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, I'm going to turn us off from our live. We've been on for about an hour, so you can go back to your lives, and we've all been at OLC Innovate today, I think.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sundi, for hosting.
Thank you for hosting.
Definitely. This was fun. Bye. All right, everyone, take care. I'm stopping the broadcast now. Bye.